we're really excited to learn more about Traverse tonight from Raleigh and CJ. They're going to walk us through how we can use Traverse as a study tool and as something that we can use in Teach As You Learn for our events moving forward. So thank you all for being here, and I'll let you guys take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. And it's nice to meet everyone. Just want to introduce ourselves real fast. I'm sure you guys know CJ because he's like the star of Teach As You Learn. I feel like he's like the student we all want to be. But my name's Raleigh. I'm hopefully getting into medical school this next July. So I'm in the Texas match, so I'll figure out next week. But I kind of came across Traverse about a year ago. I was an avid Anki user for 2 or 3 years, and then came across Traverse, and then met CJ, and then JR. And so we're just kind of excited to show you about Traverse today and how it can help you and how it can help the Teach As You Learn students. CJ, do you want to
Yeah.
introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of that. So good to see some of the same faces, some new faces here. But and my name is CJ. I'm in the Teachers You Learn group chat. Getting ready to actually currently studying MCAT stuff, so getting ready to apply this next upcoming cycle. But yeah, I found honestly Traverse through my studying and like following JR, and it's just been helpful. Just I'm a conceptual learner, so it's definitely been a tool that I like to use just because I know all of us are familiar with like flashcards or things like that, but sometimes it is nice to see the bigger picture and things. So Traverse definitely like helped me.
Yeah, and I think like we know you guys are super busy today, so it should only be like 40 minutes, but I'll just show you kind of the agenda and then we'll hop right into it.
Yeah,
Hopefully
for
this will
sure.
work. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes,
Yes?
we can.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, this is what we'll do. We'll just kind of quickly talk about Traverse, and then kind of just what it is. And then CJ will just show us, how you can basically make a map and kind of show us step by step what that is. And then we'll talk a little bit more about, creating your first map to help the students within Teach As You Learn. And then we'll just finish off with questions because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. Like whenever you kind of come across a new software, there's always questions. So feel free to ask them. But real fast, so like what is Traverse? I think the easiest way to say it is take Anki and then take Notion and take Notability and then take Miro and then just throw them together in one app. That's what Traverse is. All of the mentors within Teach As You Learn, all of you have premium access to Traverse. So that's super awesome. It's free to use. But with that, I'll just kind of pass it over to CJ to start talking about how we use it and why he loves it so much.
Perfect. Yeah. So good to see you guys. I'll go ahead and start. I'll probably share my screen here and get started with that. So give me a second. All right, perfect. I think you guys can you can all see it. All right, perfect. So you guys will see I have a couple maps here. We'll go through like the basics of making a map and like how it works. And like he just alluded to, it just is kind of putting them all together into one. So it is beautiful to have all of your things maybe in the same area. And we're actually going to take an example from here. I'm just going to pull this up. I think you guys should see it. But if I just scroll through this, right, I'm studying for the MCAT. So let's just say I'm like a student and I have this like information, right? And it's all linear and that's great and all. But the reason I do really like Traverse, right, is because I can see the bigger picture, right? I can build something and I can understand maybe how it connects. And a lot of us studying medicine is one thing that's important is knowing how things connect. So it's important for us to be able to make those connections, right? So we are going to go here. We're going to start a new Traverse, and the thing that I brought up was behavior and biology. So we're going to just title that behavior and biology, and it'll bring us into our first map, right? So this is going to be our first concept map. And I kind of scrolled through it fast, but the beginning of it is like just anatomy of the nervous system, right? So let's just say, I don't exactly know what you guys are going to be doing as mentors, but let's say you just had a student and you wanted to maybe show them how this can be implemented, or maybe they are asking for help on this concept. It's super neat, super simple. So I can obviously drag around for here. And these are what you're going to call your notes. So they're going to look like this. If I drop one, I can open this, I can type in it, I can title it, I can do whatever. So let's just start with this nervous system, right? So I'm going to title this the nervous system. And what makes this cool is once I title that, it becomes this note here. And the cool thing is obviously making the connections, right? So I can drag this and we can start from there, right? But we all know the nervous system is going to branch off into two. At least I would hope all of us and at least will know that. So you have the peripheral and you have the central, and it makes it pretty quick. So once you get the hang of these and the tool, it is great. And what I like to do is I like to sometimes just copy and paste. We get a ton of slides. We have a 50, 60, 70, 100 slides sometimes. So sometimes it's just easier if we can, copy and paste. So there we go. I have the nervous system, a little bit of tidbit in there. Also, if you have any questions or if I'm moving too fast, just let me know. But I'm just gonna have this be as straightforward as possible, right? And so I have my notes within this, my type notes within this note or node. And if I want to go ahead and let's say I want to image occlude, which is like an Anki feature, I'm sure a lot of you know, or just make a close, you can do either of those. So I'm gonna make a close here. So what's cool is I can highlight all of this, go ahead and make a new flashcard, and then create the close here and create another one here. And once I hit that, my flashcard will be created. Now, if I want to take out this extra stuff, I'm like, I just want the card to have those two. Cool, perfect, right? And so now you can see down here and up here, you have your new flashcards to review. And so that simple turned linear kind of notes into something that already I can more conceptually see how things tie together. And it's, like I said, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna add two more over here. So we all know our peripheral nervous system branches off into somatic and autonomic. So I'm just gonna put those here just for presentation purposes of what I'm gonna do next. So let's say I'm also studying and I want to test and make sure I know the connection. So a beautiful part of this is, let's say I bring up a map and I'm an active recaller. I can go ahead and tell myself, like, here is the map. I need to be able to recall what's inside of it, right? Without looking at it, you should be able to recall your notes that you have for it. But let's say I want to recall the map itself. If I do these, hit these three little buttons here, and add map occlusion, I can now make the map itself part of my flashcard. So if I check all of these and hit the finished, now you see my review flashcard just turns to 6. If I hit that and go in here, now the map itself becomes part of the flashcard that I can use. So you're like, oh, which the other one that branches off peripheral, autonomic and, somatic. So there you go. Cool, got it right. And just like at the bottom Anki, you can hit the same, incorrect, too hard, however long you want the spaced repetition. So it builds in all those features. And I'm gonna just click through this really quick so we can see. And then, yeah, there you go. You have your closed one in there too as well. And pretty much that is in simplest form how to use these. There are some like little things you'll learn how to do, like move entire notes or things like that. But that's pretty much the basics for you guys. And it's super cool once you learn all the tools. You can put straight videos in here if your lecture comes with like videos or you want video concepts. If you need to sketch, add tables, whatever it is, it's pretty customizable. And I think that's what is going to be useful for you guys, is that there are so many ways that you can use it. It isn't just like going to be for school. It can be for a lot of different reasons as well. So I know I kind of sped through that. Did anybody have any questions? That was just like a super quick review. I also feel like you guys are pretty quick learners, so. Sweet.
Yeah, feel free to ask any questions if you want. And then this kind of next part will kind of show you how to start making your own and kind of the vision behind this. But does anybody have any questions just about like the basic features and what this even is, what Traverse is in general?
Yeah, because I know when
I
I
have
first
a
started.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know Relay said I was going to do this a long time ago, but I promise I'll do it this weekend. So I'm going to go and I'm going to create an account, right? That's the first step. And then let's say I'll start, let's say for the psychiatry shelf exam that's coming up. So then I would just like start like the way he did and connect it. And then I would make one for each discipline, like each core rotation, right? And then it would be like under this big umbrella of like step 2. Is that correct?
Yeah, are you kind of, if I understand right, you kind of asking like the process for kind of like where you would
Yeah, so you
start
see
even?
how like CJ has all those different tabs. So then I would have like psychiatry, pediatrics, surgery, OB-GYN, right? Those would be like all my individual things. And then within I would create these things.
Yeah, that's a great thing. So CJ, can you go back to like where all your decks
Yeah,
are?
so yeah, exactly. So there's two ways you can do it. I would
Okay.
say like each individual map would have maybe more like the actual rotation in it. So like each of my maps
Mhm.
have something that it's for a particular class, right? So this was for or talk about a specific topic within a class, and maybe I have to go over the pituitary or whatever it may be. But the beautiful part of it is that in the sense you can whatever rotation you can go on or whatever you want to put your notes in, you can do it that way individually. Or if you want like everything on step 2 to be like a map and branch off to everything that you'll be learning in it, that works as well. Cause we do have like the MCAT portion of this on here as well. So I don't know if I was like even gonna open or show that, but yeah, it's on here. So
Okay,
Did that
thank you.
answer your question a little bit, Jessica?
Yes, I will be that I'm gonna be that person who's gonna blow you up this weekend as I'm trying to do this. And then I'm going to need
okay.
help. Okay.
Right. There's going to be lots of questions, guys. And
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
um, like the goal is that we as mentors can learn it and then kind of help out students with it because there's a lot of possibilities with this to help out students compared to Anki per se. So that's kind of why I think JR really fell in love with it. And this is why CJ and I love it so much. Just to give you like some background, it sounds crazy, but like I look forward to studying every day now because it's fun. It's fun to make the map. Um, there's a lot you can do. You can upload all of your Anki cards into it. So it's just a blast, but it looks like some other people have some questions.
Oh yeah, I cannot see the question, so I'm sorry if people were asking them. But also a reason I love it personally is just because it has the like built-in on King deck in there. So if you're like a visual learner, at least for me with like MCAT, I can see, is the map still up here? Oh, it's like super, super small. But anyway, it had like the connections of the things for the MCAT built as a map. When if you were to click in these, right? Like this is super small. There you go. I think you guys can see this. Right. So it's like your enzymes. And then if you were to click in here for translation, it has the videos that were already built in here, as long as like the card's already made. So when I was studying for the MCAT, I was like, like this is how everything connects and it's all in one spot. So you can aim, Jessica, to maybe get there if you were studying for like step, like to have all of this, make the connections, right? Because that's more important than just memorizing them. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It looks like Kazimla, am I pronouncing that right? Is a question?
Yes, surprisingly. Can you hear me?
Yes.
okay.
Very surprising. So CJ had mentioned that you can like integrate your Anki cards into the software, right? But is it possible also to integrate Notion? Because I use toggles on Notion to like active recall. So is there a possibility to link those two, or would I have to make like the mind maps like this? Which is great, by the way, if I can integrate Anki, but like, can I do that with like Notion?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let's see. I don't know off the top of my head, but I do know there's a lot of different formats you can download in, so maybe Notion is one of it. So let's check.
Yeah, that question. I don't 100% even
Maybe
know.
it needs like an add-on of sorts, or maybe a third party in order to integrate. But like, is that concept a possibility?
Yeah, that's a good question. So if you go to import right here, let's see if it says you can do Anki. Trying to see if there's anything else. This is a JSON Markdown. So it looks like there's nothing with Notion right now, but I would definitely like ask. I think that's a great idea to suggest to like when you become a member, like you have an option to like kind of like give suggestions to the developers. So that would be a really good one. I think that's a great idea.
For sure.
Does anybody else have questions?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Is there ability to share? Because I know, like, for us, like especially med students, to be honest, nobody makes new things really. We just share old things between each other. So is there an ability to kind of share between?
Yeah, I can answer. Oh, wait, he's sharing his screen, but I was gonna say I can answer that one on here because yeah, there's a shared deck, and I thought it was funny because I don't know if you can see that too, but it's the one that's titled Year 3 of Med School. At the very bottom, if you like, yeah, it's up. I think, yeah,
I
there it
think this
is. Yeah,
is someone from England, so but yes,
yeah.
you can share them.
So yeah, there are shared decks, and that way it's like once you create one, if it's like high yield enough or it's like something, I mean, there's glycolysis, pyruvate oxidation, things that could make us lose sleep at night, but they are on there. So you can definitely review them if you want.
You can also, and we'll kind of explain to this, but you can also collaborate on decks. So that's kind of fun. So you and your buddy can make a map together and then you start learning. And that's one idea, and we'll get to this, but one idea for Teach As You Learn is basically to make like Teach As You Learn maps with decks. So like it's one big map, let's say about endocrinology, or one big map about the nervous system, and people can contribute, and it gets better and better. Did that answer that, Alex?
Yeah, it did.
I think you had a
Cool.
question, Kate. Yeah.
Yeah. So with Anki, we get those pre-made decks on Reddit. Where would we get? Are they like pre-made? Just to like connect to Alex's question, where would you get already pre-made flash map thingies? I don't know, what are these things called? Connections?
No
But like
worries.
There's a ton of names.
the main hub,
DJ,
or
do
like
you want to take that, or do you want me to explain it?
or
You
should
can,
I?
yeah, you can show her.
Yeah, so right now it's called Traverses. It's kind of been up and running, at least for like medicine, for about like a year. So it's not as established as you say for like Anki, but you can upload Anki, like pre-made Anki decks into it. But as far as sharing it, there's a couple ways. So probably the common way that we would use as Teach As You Learn is to, let's say, like, I don't know, let's say we want to do learning glycolysis, is like some person would do share and they would just copy the link, and then we would post it on the Teach As You Learn community. So right now there's not like tons of maps except for the ones down at the bottom, but those are mostly for like MCAT students. And then this one's the one that JR made. This is CJ's. These are some that I've made. But that's kind of how you share and download maps. But another way is just to basically upload an Anki deck into it and then share it. Did that answer that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so let's, if it's okay with you guys, just for the next little part, like, because this will probably open up more questions. We'll help everyone kind of like download it so that you guys can get the premium account, because that's through JR. So we'll do that, and then we'll start making kind of like our first little map together, and then that'll probably open up some more questions. So let's stop sharing. I'm going to put this into the chat, but this is how you get there. So it's traverse.link. So you'll have to go to that site, and we'll just create your account right now. It'll take like 2 minutes. And then I'm going to give you the link so that you get like the premium membership. So you'll go to traverse.link. And let me know if this is like too fast or too slow. But then you're going to create an account. And it's just going to be like typical creating any other account, just like your username and email to use.
Yeah, and honestly, one thing I did like about it too is like I know with new apps, at least for me, or like new softwares, it's like, man, how big is the learning curve? Because like I'm kind of I'm kind of lazy in that sense. Like if the learning curve is too big, I'm just like, I don't know if I want to spend the time to like learn something else. But the learning curve for this isn't,
Yeah.
it's really pretty straightforward. So for those of you that may not be as like tech savvy, like don't worry, it's pretty user friendly, in my opinion.
Yep.
That's why I'm about to tell JR to send me his step 2 link so I can just study from his link. I'm like, send me your link.
Right. And I think you guys will see this is another reason kind of like why we've been talking about this is Anki can be kind of a hassle for new students. I think you probably all have experienced those first like 3 weeks of just learning how to use Anki, and it's hard and it takes time. So Traverse is significantly easier to start off learning. So hopefully that'll help out these students really learn how to use spaced repetition going into medical school and beyond. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen and then
Okay, you had a question.
oh yeah, go for it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to ask. I can use my iPad, right? Fully, or
Yep.
do I need?
You can use your iPad, which is also fun because Traverse has a drawing part of it, so you can also draw directly onto your map, which is really fun.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe like this is anybody who's kind of logging in has like just to kind of know the timing, has anybody like made it through the login process yet?
Yes, and it says like make a flashcard.
Perfect. Yep, that'll take you to there. That's just like the first little tutorial. Is anybody else there? We just don't want to go too fast. We don't know if this is too slow. Anybody could just kind of just say where they're at.
I have an account, so I'm good.
Okay, awesome.
Right,
So
I
now
think
that you guys have an account, and then I'll kind of show you this next step, but now in the link, you should see a link. It starts with like Dominic Zizastra. I don't know how to pronounce that last part. But if you hit that link, here, I'll share my screen. If you hit that link, it should take you to a basically a place where you can put in your email. And sorry, it'll ask you for the email that you use to sign up to Traverse, and then what your name is in the Teaches You Learn community. And then that's what's going to give you the premium access for a year. So it should work in the next day or two. You should get access to it. Okay, perfect. So with that said, I'm just going to go into kind of just showing how to just get started real fast. And what I want to show you real fast is kind of how to create your roadmap as a tutor or as a mentor, because this roadmap idea is something that can help the Teaches You Learn students. And it also just help you kind of learn how to use Traverse. So you'll log in, and we're going to create something that looks like, sorry, it's just loading. Okay, so I'm gonna show you JR's roadmap real fast. So this is the roadmap that we've done with JR. So the idea is one of the hardest things as a student is just like knowing how people got to where they got to, right? Like how did you end up at Baylor? How did you end up at Wisconsin? Or what did you do at the MCAT stage? And an easy way to do this as mentors is just to create like our own roadmap. And then this will be accessible to students. So for example, this is JR's roadmap. And then this will have, this is kind of just like a skeleton, but this will talk about like what he did as a pre-med. And then here, if he wants, he can put everything he did about research with the links that he used. This is what he did for patient exposure. This is his community service. These are his favorite resources he used for the MCAT, things like that. And then the idea is, as we make roadmaps, then the students and teachers you learn can easily see, you know, and catch a vision of like, okay, this is what I can be doing to basically get to where the mentors are. Does that make sense? I'm going to show you how to make this to start off, but does this kind of make sense, this idea? Hopefully.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay, so just real fast to get started. So you'll go into your account. To always get back to your decks, you just press this home button. So you'll create a new traverse. If you had cards, you would do it from Anki. But then just type in the name of your traverse. And then the first thing that you'll do is probably just create a note. You can click right there and then immediately it'll highlight it to add any name to it. So I'll probably say like shadowing opportunities. And then what you can do is it's kind of nice just to brain dump just to start off. So I could do like shadowing, research, my application. Maybe I want to have students see my application kind of essays. So I can go like this. And kind of once you start building out your roadmap, then it's great to connect it. And you can name your links. So let's say,
Yeah.
oh yeah, CJ, did you want to say anything about that?
Oh, I was just so what I think is going to be important in this is that not just like showing the links, but to for all of us, right? There were different parts that played a bigger role. So maybe for JR, I know he talks a lot about, being an athlete. And so that was like a big part of his, where it's like, well, if I just maybe was on an intramural team for fun, maybe like it wasn't as big of a role and maybe research was a bigger role. But what's cool is that with these links, not only can you name them and show like their connection, you can also change like the size of them to show the importance. So maybe like research was a huge changing for me and very important for me in terms of, getting to medical school. And so you can actually visually show that through the map. And what I think will be cool is, especially for being on this side of it, like I know you guys are the mentors, but being the mentees, it's nice to see like when you can resonate with one of the mentors, like, oh, they really enjoyed like their shadowing experiences. And like, I'm going through that right now. So maybe let me talk to them about shadowing, or, hey, like I really, really am struggling with my app essays, but they really like enjoy the process of their application essays. And so that can be another way where like people can resonate with you, not just like what's on it, but what they feel like is going to be the most impactful for them. So that's all I was going to add.
I love that. And, like I'm kind of in this transition to becoming a mentor, but like as a student, it's just so nice, like CJ said, just to see what people did and like their advice, right? So, you could add like, for example, your video or like a PDF of what you've done for your research, or like your favorite tips, right, and tricks about getting research. So that just really helpful for a student, like CJ said, just to easily see like how you became what you are right now. And so the goal of this is, once we've created these roadmaps, then kind of if I understand right, Juliana, then the next month we'll start to share them in another event. Is that right, Juliana?
Yeah, next month we're hopefully going to do an event with these roadmaps and be able to show the pre-med students some of like we'll do a couple examples of our own, and that'll be like an intro to Traverse for the whole community as a whole, and it'll also be a way to like demonstrate our different pathways through to medical school.
Awesome. Yeah, that should be really fun. So I'm just about to finish off here, just with a couple last things, and then we'll just go to more questions and answers. Honestly, I know you guys are all so busy, so thanks for taking the time. We really think that as students, like CJ and I as students, like this would really help. We wish that we had something like this even earlier on, just because it would be really beneficial. But kind of the invitation to start off for today is just to start creating your roadmap. And if you can create any content of things that maybe were difficult for you to study or studying right now, to start creating those so that you can share them. Kind of like our vision of a couple things that we can start doing in the community is, like mentors can start to share their learning. So within Teaches You Learn, like we'll have a place where you can start sharing your maps. And so students can be like, oh, okay, cool. Like that's where the Krebs cycle is. Or students in the future also can easily ask questions. And as mentors, you can gauge the understanding really quickly because it's visual, right? It's a little harder to like go into a student's Anki decks and know exactly where there are. But if you realize that they're making mistakes with their connections, then you can be like, well, I think you could work on this. And then the final thing is, like we talked about, just kind of these big shared collaborative mind maps. So this could be about metabolism, or kind of like we said, it could be histology, things that can be of great use for students and can really help them learn. So that's it for our presentation. Once again, we know that all of you guys are really busy, so thanks for even hopping on. But what other questions do you guys have?
Yeah.
I mean, does somebody want to take my step 2 notes and make one for me? That'd be lovely. I'd greatly appreciate it.
That's funny. I think also too, a cool idea could be for you guys to like push for people to make their own in terms of like reflecting or understanding where they are at in their journey. Like this, putting this onto something where I could visually see like, hey, this is where I'm at. Maybe I'm like lacking here, or like I would have liked to improve here. But it's kind of hard in a conversation too sometimes to like remember every single student, their details, like what they talked about. So if like students built these, and you can be like, okay, like learn what connections you need to maybe make for yourself in terms of like your personal statement or your application, and like building what type of applicant you want to be, right? A lot of us are in this process are only going to care about our GPAs and like MCATs. Like nobody's really thinking about like the whole picture, right, of what it means to be a good student. So this can help you kind of visualize that, or at least start to visualize it, right? So
Sorry,
yeah.
I have a question. So let's say we all share our roadmaps, right? And maybe there's a piece of information that we left out, maybe part of our journey or something. I know the other option is to like kind of DM the mentor, but is it possible for you guys to like add an arrow for us to fill in the collaborative space vibe? I don't know if I'm using the keywords right here, but
No, yeah. So I guess one question is, are you asking like if you can still change the map after you've shared it? Is that what you're asking?
not primarily me, but then maybe you could add an arrow and notify me to like add on, because you can collaborate, right? So if you see my roadmap and you see there's a piece of information that I left out that could not only help you, but everyone else, is it possible for you guys to add an arrow apart from just DMing me? Or maybe adding a comment, but like to make things easier, add an arrow for me to go back to the map and add stuff.
Yeah, so there's kind of two ways to share, and I'll just share my screen real fast to show this. So one of the ways to share is kind of like sharing a Google Doc that's like non-editable, and so everyone can just see the doc. And then the other way is to share a kind of like an editable Google Doc. And so that depends on how you share the map. Let me see if I can pull that up for you real fast. And so the editable way would work like you said. So sharing a link will be kind of like sharing a Google Doc that everyone can see. But if you actually give someone your email address, that's when, and then click edit, that's when they can edit your map, and you can, they could add, like you said, something like to change. But for the most part, I would imagine people would probably just message you and ask you to change something. Great question, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, sweet. I don't think anybody else has any questions, but yeah, like feel free to reach out to either one of us too if you're like using it and you're like, I don't get this. Or JR. JR is pretty good at it too. So you're on mute again. No, I'm just
Sorry. Juliana, I know we were kind of talking about having kind of like an Anki and Traverse kind of like troubleshooting channel. Do you know any news about that? Just to answer any questions from this.
Yeah, I just was about to actually send a DM to the two of you and JR and Madison so we can get that kind of started. But for everybody, that'll be a place where like if any of you have questions or if students ask you questions and you don't know the answer, we're gonna have a separate channel, ideally to have like troubleshooting questions for Traverse, for Anki, and for things like that. So hopefully that'll make things a little more streamlined and easier for the people who've done this before to answer our questions.
Perfect. Yeah, I would imagine you guys will have lots of questions, but yeah, CJ and I are there, so we can help out with anything that you guys need.
yeah. Got you guys.
Okay, it looks like there's no more questions, so I think that's it on our end. Juliana, unless there's anything else that you want to say, we should be good from that's our kind of mini presentation. Thanks guys for coming tonight, by the way.